Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the F50 Austin Summit. I'm Angelos Angelou. I'm the founder of the International Accelerator, as well as Macroeconomics. I am delighted to have been chosen to be a presenter today for the Austin Summit, particularly also because we have partnered with F50 to put this event together. The purpose of my presentation today is to allow the audience to have a pretty good picture of the economy in Austin. So I'm prepared to give you an economic update and forecast for Austin and Texas. And then I want to cover the International Accelerator, which is another company that I founded and I'm the CEO of, which I'm very proud, and it deals with entrepreneurship, and therefore it will be appropriate on this particular summit to talk about Austin's assets in entrepreneurship and how we go about recruiting companies and funding them and making Austin a pretty significant place for entrepreneurship to evolve. So first and foremost, let's begin with the economic outlook of Austin. I want to talk to you a little bit about Angelos Angelou. We are an economic development consulting firm. We've done the corporate strategic plans for 600 cities, corporate site location work for over 100 projects, and economic impact studies for over 220 clients in the U.S. over the 26 years that we've been in business. We are one of the top firms in the country when it comes to economic development consulting. Some of our clients include the City of Austin, HP, Dell Computer, ConocoPhillips, the Cleveland Clinic, the Circuit of the Americas, Applied Materials, and so forth and so on. My particular background in economic development stems from having been the VP of Economic Development for the Austin Chamber of Commerce, as well as the chief economist from 1984 through 1995. So I'm fairly well qualified to forecast the Austin economy, as I've done so for the last 35 years that I've lived in Austin. So let's begin with the Austin economic update. But before that, let me share with you our forecast for the United States. We've seen a decline in our economy last year of about 36%. However, we've gained much of that in the third quarter of 2020, and it looks like fourth quarter of 2020 has also increased, but we're forecasting a smooth transition to the economic recovery, which began in 2021, and we estimate that will continue unabated for the next few years. First, let me speak about the Austin economy. In 2020, we've lost 31,900 jobs during the pandemic, which again has affected the entire nation and all the cities in our country. So we went from a job creator of 40 to 42,000 new jobs per year to a net loss of 31,000 in 2020. However, much of that loss, 28,900 jobs, were lost in the leisure and hospitality sector. So therefore, had we not lost as many jobs in this sector, our economy would have perhaps recorded a very minor, very small job loss during the pandemic. The unemployment rate in 2019 versus 2020, this is a month-to-month comparison. So in December of 2020, we were at 5.1%. In December of 2019, we were 2.4%. This is a rate that we will return to sometime in 2023. Austin has traditionally been a low unemployment city. because we create so many jobs every single year based on what is created from our local existing companies as well as new companies that constantly choose Austin for their home. In Texas, we lost 560,000 jobs in 2020 because of the pandemic. But Texas also lost a considerable number of jobs in the oil and gas sector, which was pre-pandemic. So we are seeing signs of significant economic recovery, and we expect that we will make up most of those jobs in the next year or so. The other company I own is the International Accelerator. We started in 2016. We're the only accelerator that is focused on attracting foreign-born entrepreneurs to the U.S. We have 18 portfolio companies. We take up to 15% equity stake in each startup. We're a 12-month acceleration program with 30 mentors and 50 country advisors who constantly help us select the best companies. We typically see over 1,500 to 2,000 applications, and our goal is to select maybe 10 to 12 companies. We're interested in quality rather than quantity. So it's important for us that our portfolio is made up of companies that will be tremendously successful in the future. We've raised $4 million on average for each startup, over $70 million worth of capital raise for our companies in and outside of our incubator, and our valuation today exceeds $525 million for the type of companies that we've incubated, and obviously this includes some of the major winners that we have had. So I'm very proud of the International Accelerator. This is where I spend most of my working day and time, and because I love the notion that we are empowering international entrepreneurship here in Austin, and it is in my nature also to help people, and we help make a lot of these startups very successful in the US, and that's personal satisfaction for me. Austin is particularly an engineering and software development city when it comes to high tech. We've seen our patents grow year over year, and we're now just short of 5,000 patents in 2020, and I'm sure in 2021 we will have exceeded that number. So Austin is the intellectual capital, if you will, in Texas for high tech, not because other cities do not have high tech, but the focus really of our economy here is on technology, and I cannot say that of Houston or Dallas. So while Dallas may have many, many technology companies than Austin, the most important companies and the most important economic development evolves around the Austin region. The state of Texas is ranked number 6 in the nation in terms of the venture capital it attracts. And when it comes to that venture capital, Austin typically accounts for more than 50%, which means that sorry for that interruption from the phone. Let me just turn it off. I should have done that before that. So this needs to be edited. So, as I said, if you are an entrepreneur, the best chance of you receiving a venture capital will be by locating in Austin. And that's a huge advantage for the entrepreneurial ecosystem in Austin vis-a-vis Dallas and Houston or the rest of the state. The Austin startup environment is made up of an ecosystem that is worth upwards of $17 billion in a $185 billion economy, which is the gross regional product for Austin. So the drivers of Austin's economy are really high-tech, government, and real estate. We have a fairly diversified economy in the high-tech sector, substantial assets in the semiconductor industry, engineering and software, as well as a plethora of companies in e-commerce and education and consumer goods. So Austin is ranked 18th in the country in terms of its entrepreneurial ecosystem, even though we may not be the largest, one of the largest cities in the U.S. So here I wanted to give you an opportunity to know some of the top funded Austin startups, excuse me, in 2018. And I'm very proud to say that the number 3 and number 5 on this list are portfolio companies of the International Accelerator. Again, this speaks very well to the quality aspect of our work at the International Accelerator through a lot of hard work from all of our staff that is involved in marketing and recruiting top-level talent. So the International Accelerator has 18 total startups in its portfolio. We've returned to our investors 267% of capital. Our companies have raised over $70 million, and again, repeating that we have a valuation of our portfolio now at $520 million, and most of our companies are still in the seed stage. So definitely we'll see that number grow. I expect our first fund of only $3.2 million, which was an experimental fund, eventually will return to its investors over 1,000% in the next few years. So when we talk about the Austin market, we have to talk about real estate because it's a huge driver of our economy. A lot of money have been made in this market, and often they rely on my forecasts every year to plan for the future. So with the exception of the office market, which is going to see a little bit of a downturn already that we have realized during the pandemic, a lot of vacant space is still in existence, and a lot of sublease space, which also provides opportunities for new startups to lease to sublease space from existing clients at much lower rates. But we expect the market to return to being back to normal in 2 or 3 years. A lot of this vacant space will be reabsorbed in the economy, as I'm sure. Austin continues to be a very attractive place for new businesses to locate, and the demand for office space is pretty strong. The industrial space, we've seen dramatic growth over the years. Not because Austin is a manufacturing center, although we do have significant assets here in the semiconductor industry, but more so because industrial flex space has become a choice of a lot of high-tech companies and government offices to want to go into flex space that is considered industrial space, which is about 1/3 of the leasing rates that are available in the office market. So people that are very conscious about saving money want to and prefer to locate in flex industrial space, which with a little bit of the right finish out, some of these offices look extremely good. The retail market, despite of the pandemic, we've seen a net absorption of nearly 850,000 square feet. The market has been impacted by COVID-19, but the population of growth is so strong. Last year we've grew our population by 67,000 people, and all those folks need more retail to shop at, and therefore this market will continue to be very, very healthy as long as our region continues to grow in its population. The housing markets, Right now, I guess you can say, fortunately and unfortunately, the market is sizzling hot. Prices are bid up from the asking price on average by 20 to 30%. The supply of housing has been reduced to only about 14 months. And we've seen a 40% increase in housing prices on average in just the course of the last year or so. So the market is very healthy from a development point of view. It's becoming somewhat unaffordable for a lot of the people that live in Austin and don't have high-paying jobs. So it's become a problem. So just as a snapshot of the housing market in 2021, the median home price rose by 42% from last year to $460,000. We sold 37% more homes. The total value of those homes was up by 96%. The active listings are down to 1,900, which equates to about 14 days of supply right now. And that is of concern. And that supply is being reduced every single month. Texas multifamily is going strong. More than half of the population in Texas lives in apartments and condos. And the Dallas-Fort Worth market is king. Houston follows. But Austin, being the third player here and the smallest of all the cities listed on this chart, is really right below Houston in terms of the multifamily construction that is taking place in our city. Our projections are that Austin will be just again below Houston on the forecast for 2021-22, and San Antonio trailing all the other major cities in Texas. Let me say that these four cities are the top 10 cities in the U.S. in population right now. So Texas, out of the 10 top cities, accounts for 4 of them. Austin is not yet on that list of the top 10, but we are very, very close to achieving that. So I'm already counting Austin as part of that top 10 cities in the U.S. in population, because really even the Census Bureau has the opportunity from time to time to increase the estimates that they have for Austin. For instance, a couple of years ago, they estimated that Austin had 150,000 more people than they were accounting for at that time, and another 90,000 jobs or so. So I expect to have similar revisions done for this census soon. So let's talk about the economic outlook. But before I do that, let me begin by saying that I have had a pretty good record of forecasting the economy. Not every single year. We've missed the downturns in definitely 2009 and 2010, if you will, and also in 2020. But even though I'm the most aggressive forecaster, as you can see, my forecasts, even though may have been double of every other economist in Central Texas as well as in Texas, have always been under the actual numbers that have occurred in our economy. So I'm very proud of that record. And we have a secret sauce. We understand economic development and the possibilities for Austin and every metropolitan area, and that gives us the inside track, if you will, of the kind of projects that are looking in and out of Austin, and the kind of jobs that are going to be creating in the future, and it gives us a leg up on our population forecast accuracy and economic and labor forecast accuracy. Austin is either at 2.4 million in population as we speak, because I do believe that these estimates are going to be blown away. The estimate for 2022 will be exceeding the 2.4 million. Let me point out that I moved to this Central Texas region in 1984 when I was quoting the population of Austin to be only 560,000. So in a period of 35 years, Austin has quadrupled its population. And we have the tendency of doubling our population every 20 years. So while that may not be able to be achieved every 20 years from now on, we are still going to be pretty close to it. This is a high growth city, the highest growth city in the country for the last 40 years as far as technology cities are concerned. And according to government sources and of my own, this is going to be a city that will be the fastest growing for the next 25 years. As Elon Musk said earlier this year, Austin is going to be the next boom town in the US for the next 50 years. And I strongly endorse and believe that that will be the case. So in 2021, we are going to reverse most of the job losses that occurred during the pandemic. In fact, the 27,500 new growth estimate is conservative, and I think that number will probably get close to 33,000 new jobs. And after 2021, we will begin to grow at 40,000 plus. My 5-year forecast is that we will be creating 45,000 to 50,000 jobs per year, and our population will continue to grow at an expedited rate, and we will be adding between 70 to 85,000 new people to Austin every single year. So a lot of people blame me for the housing affordability issues that we face today, as well as the traffic congestion, because during my tenure at the Austin Chamber of Commerce 25 years ago, I helped recruit the top employers in Austin. So as far as Texas is concerned, we're going to exceed 30 million people by the year 2022. We are the second most populous state. The population here continues to grow, and we'll be adding close to 500,000 new people in Texas every single year. The job creation will go from 560,000 job loss in 2020 because of the pandemic, but because of the oil and gas crisis, to 518,000 job gain in 2021. And after that, we'll continue to show substantial gains in the neighborhood of 400,000 jobs per year for a long period of time. So what are some of the challenges we face in our economy? And I would be remiss if I didn't point this out. Austin, like any other technology community, is going to have a labor shortage across all sectors, both technology talent and non-technology talent. Apple broke ground on its $1 billion campus here. Apple today employs close to 9,000 people. I would suspect that eventually they will be able to house in the new campus that they're building another 15 to 20,000 people. Apple will be by far the largest employer in Austin. Tesla acquired nearly 3,000 acres, is building its gigafactory at a cost of $1.1 billion. Elon Musk actually updated those numbers for us, where he's expecting to employ over 10,000 people in Central Texas by year's end, and expects to have the production of the Cybertruck and Model 3 car be produced here. Oracle moved their corporate headquarters to Austin, along with HP, which moved its corporate headquarters in Houston. Digital Realty moved corporate headquarters in Austin, and Amazon has a substantial operations here both on the distribution level and as well as through the acquisition of an Austin-based company, Whole Foods, a number of years ago, which has been a major successful acquisition on their part. On the other hand, Samsung, which is the last company I recruited while I was in Austin, plans to invest another $17 billion here on their campus. It's said that they may be acquiring more land nearby to continue to expand. Samsung has already invested $16 billion in our economy, and they become the flagship of the semiconductor industry here in Austin. They will probably be hiring another 2,500 people. Oracle's campus is targeting close to 10 to 12,000 people. Amazon probably has already close to 15,000 people in all of their regional distribution centers in Austin. In fact, the largest one was built in a suburban community called Pflugerville, just outside of Austin, 3.5 million square feet. So let's talk a little bit about the real challenges. Well, we're not entirely post-COVID yet, although I think the post-COVID era is coming soon, and we'll know for sure by early fall. And COVID-19 has ceased to be a pandemic, but I think will become an endemic disease, which means every year we're going to be hauling ourselves to our doctor offices or any one of the pharmacies to be vaccinated for COVID, because we do know now that the vaccine lasts probably for about 7 or 8 months. As time goes on, we'll find out exactly how long it lasts. But all the experts I've talked to, they say that we're going to be vaccinated pretty much every single year. I'm a little bit concerned about the post-election tax policy. Definitely the current administration is undoing a lot of the tax cuts of the Trump administration. We are definitely going to see the capital gains tax go higher than it is today. We're going to see the corporate tax rate from 21% rise to 28%. Honestly speaking, if that's what is going to be, I'm good with that. I think the economy can continue to grow and do very well. The high debt burden is going to be the point of discussion that would dominate all political and economic discussion in the next few months, because we have put a lot of trillions of dollars in supporting our economy and in debt which has to be paid, and there's no such thing as a free lunch. All of us will have to accept a higher tax burden to pay off that debt. World debt at this point in time is at $281 trillion, and I suspect the U.S. portion of that is definitely almost 40% of this number. So having 40% of the total worldwide debt for a country like the U.S. that has been the if you will, the example of business culture and low taxes for many, many years, and the most stable economy in the world, may come under some considerable pressure, particularly as inflation picks up. The inflation at the consumer level does not worry me, because I think it's going to be temporary, maybe another quarter or two, or maybe throughout the year. What concerns me is asset price inflation and the increases in real estate, whether it's multifamily, whether it's single-family homes, whether it's office or industrial buildings, we've seen significant asset inflation, not only in real estate, but also in the venture capital business, where we are seeing astronomical amounts of money raised for very high valuations. And that cannot last forever. Eventually, we're going to have to have slower rates of inflation, particularly in assets, as we move on. So this is my presentation. I thank you for it. One appeal that I would make is, if any of you are investors, please take a look at our portfolio companies in the Accelerator. We have 2 unicorn companies and another 2 of them on their way. And for those 2, be readers and pick time. We still have to raise a couple $100,000 in seed capital at reasonable valuations before we move on to Series A, which will take these companies hopefully to unicorn status as well. So we have a great program at the Accelerator with tremendous investment opportunities. We treasure our relationship with F50 and in this summit, and we hope to attract more angel investors into our portfolio companies. Again, we focus on quality, not quantity. Every year we're going to be trying to increase our portfolio companies by 10 to 12 companies. So that's all. And we do that by looking at over 2,000 applications. So we're very selective. We're going to do well. And moreover, sometime in late summer, we're going to raise a $50 million fund that I would hope that some of you in the fund business might want to consider, particularly as it relates to the uniqueness of our program being focused on foreign-born entrepreneurs, to our track record of having selected great companies which have made a ton of money for our venture capital investors as well as our angel investors, and who are already drawn to our program and regularly look at our portfolio companies because they've seen the benefit already and hopefully will provide value to them in the future as well. So thank you so much. I appreciate your time. If you have any questions, please reach out to me at Angelos at Angelou Economics or Angelos at internationalaccelerator.com. It doesn't really matter which email you use. And call me on my cell. I've given you here the a number that is my fixed line, but my cell is 512-658-8400. Again, Angelos at angeloeconomics.com or Angelos at internationalaccelerator.com. My cell is 512-658-8400. Thank you, and have a good day.